Hello, this is Dr. Garrett Castleberry, Professor of Media Production and Communication at Mid-America Christian University, and I'm here with a video discussion prompt for COMM4103, Special Topics in Media Studies. Our focus in this course, Mythic Media in America. So this is a prompt for our Mythic Media students in week 5. We are rounding that final corner, and it is time to lay it all on the line. We have shifted gears beginning this week away from the graphic novel or comic book readings, and we set in motion for our students to screen an alternative piece of media, like a film, easily accessible, condensable storytelling that you can watch in a relatively short period of time, and then develop as part of the final project in the course an analysis paper. And there's a couple of ways that we refer to this. On one hand, it is an adaptation analysis. You're analyzing how story types and forms, maybe tropes and conventions or narrative aspects of a story, its characters and so on, translate from one mass medium to another, such as translating a comic book to a film. That's a really easy thing to kind of walk through, and maybe easy is both, it is a word that's not fully in service of what we're after. We're after, in that process that seems to be quite easy, that process of translation challenges us to unearth and be able to identify, assess, and analyze and explore, maybe even theorize about different choices made and what those changes might mean. And so this is simply a preview of the week to say students be working on that adaptation analysis. We also at times may refer to as a mythic analysis, because after all, we are studying mythic media in the course. And so time for our prompts in week 5. Sit tight, because these will tie into work that you're doing this week in other areas. And so you may not be as readily prepared to record your initial response by early or midweek. All right, so it may require a little bit of gestation to process and reflect on the prompts in relation to the other work going on in the course. Here's what we want to do. This is a tri-fold prompt for us. First, which reading in the course stood out to you the most, and why? And we've had a number of readings. I mentioned already the graphic novel that everyone was to select from, a kind of choose your own adventure. We had some DC, we had some Marvel options out there. And so which that represents a reading. But we also had a couple of books in the class, Chris Gaviler's Superhero Comics, a kind of cultural history, as well as Jewett and Lawrence's The Myth of the American Superhero. And it definitely looks at American myth making in a different way than our graphic novel. It's mostly free of comic book language. I don't know if we've picked up on that yet, that it's doing some different kinds of business about how we make myths in America. And so we also have miscellaneous readings dropped into the Canvas shell, where you could explore and read up on anything from some rhetorical criticism pieces, the mythic analysis paper, that's actually a paper that theorizes about a mythic analysis method. And so the outcome of that is that by reading and processing what they mean, you could apply that mythic analysis as a method to analyze a text. As in, you could do that in this exact course. Promote and apply that Frentzen Rushing essay on the mythic analysis. And so we're learning how to apply and demonstrate our knowledge gained, not simply work rhythmically through readings and a series of discussions. And ultimately, that's what we're after. That helps us cross the threshold in terms of achieving those learning outcomes that we have. So, prompt number 1, which reading stood out to you the most and why? And we've outlined all the kinds of readings you had exposure to in the class. Second, how have your views about myths or myth making changed over the course of the class? I think we started in one place, and at least from an instructor standpoint, I've observed a maturing of fostering of deeper ideas and insights into myths, myth making, mythology, and so on. And we want to hear about that in your own words. So this is a personal response. This doesn't require a lot of research to answer that question, at least in terms of it is an examination from within. Although, hey, properly citing sources is always encouraged, and I think adds value, adds speaker credibility, as we would say, in a public speaking context. And so that second prompt, how have your views about myths or myth making changed or altered over the course of this class? That's number 2. And then finally, I know, what a trick, but rule of threes, right? Third, and this could be among our most important, but I think all three hold great value for us. Preview, tease, or share part of your process or direction for the mythic analysis, or we're also calling it our adaptation analysis in the course, your final paper. Preview, tease, or share part of your final paper. And if you haven't finished it, many of you likely haven't or won't have before you create a video discussion, talk us through your thinking process. Use that space to maybe work on or work out some of your questions that you have, that you're bouncing around as you begin to put these different pieces of writing and entertainment and philosophy and rhetorical criticism and mass media together into a conversation. That conversation is the final analysis paper that you put together over the course of week 5. We may have a little wiggle room, a little grace period there at the end, but push yourself as hard as you can to get as far as you can by the traditional Monday at midnight deadline, and then reach out if by pushing yourself through that process have awakened some additional ideas, or you have a sense of some cleanup to do, some tightening up of things, some word choice replacements or what have you. But let's cross this finish line together. I'm very excited. You all have stayed active for the most part in the course, and that's something to champion. Let's do this one more time, right? Recap all 3 prompts, and yes, this was a bit of a longer video, but hopefully I'm taking the time to articulate each of these so many times that it's fewer viewings you have, and that you really feel like you have a crystal clear set of expectations for our response here. It's the culminating week, so we have this culminating discussion, and I'm excited to hear from you all in your response to, first, which reading from the class stood out to you the most and why. Second, how have your views about myths and myth making and that type of idea set changed or altered or expanded? What is your take today versus 5 weeks ago? And third and finally, we want you to preview, tease, or talk through some of the ideas that you're putting into play, maybe even an excerpt if you've already begun writing it, for your final analysis paper in COMM4103, Special Topics in Media Studies. Our focus here, Mythic Media in America.